All right, boys, it is just me today for a solo episode. It's been a while since I haven't had Dylan here. It was close. We weren't going to record anything, but I had to get a video out for you guys today. Dylan called me this morning. He has pink eye. Don't ask me how he got it, but he's got it. So I don't know how long he's going to be out for. This might be a couple weeks. I don't want to get infected from that guy. So I left his chair there in honor. I don't want to disrespect him. He's here in spirit. But yeah, that's the reason why Dylan's not here. Hopefully he's back soon. But we got a good video for you today. I want to give you, in my opinion, my uninterrupted opinion, without Dylan yapping in my ear the whole video, who are the best strikers in the division right now, every single UFC division, because we've had a lot of changes since when Dodson's Corner first posted a video like this. You know, we had Alex Pereira up at the top of light heavyweight, and I don't want to spoil the video, but things are changing. Things are changing in the UFC. Opinions are changing. I mean, look at Leon Edwards. We were still calling this guy the most technical striker. What's going on? What is going on with UFC right now? We got a different video about that coming up soon. But let's start off with flyweight division. This one was really difficult because I'd say Alexander Pantoja is an extremely underrated striker for what he's been able to do in the division. He was outstriking Kaya Sakura, who's a good striker. He's beaten Manel Cap. He's beaten everyone. He's beaten Moreno. He's beaten Royval. But I wouldn't say the reason he's beaten them is because of his stand-up game. It definitely helps, and he's definitely, I would say, about that level of all those guys. But it's just his ability to take them down, control them on the ground, pass guard, threaten submissions. It's all those things that help him tire out his opponents so that his striking can really shine. And let's be honest, when was the last time that he dominated someone in the striking? It's always a combination of everything. So I think if we talk about pure striking versus striking matchup, you put him in a boxing ring or a kickboxing ring, whatever you want. I don't think Pantoja is going to be the winner in flyweight. This might be a controversial take. I think Brandon Royval is still probably the best striker in flyweight right now. And you might be thinking, oh, it has to be Manel Cap because you've seen the clips and you've seen his last two fights. Dude, tell me a good opponent that Manel Cap has beaten with a straight face. You're telling me Bruno Silva is a good opponent. I can't believe that. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that Bruno Silva counts as a good win for Manel Cap on his resume. Sure, he looked good doing it, but that doesn't mean it's a high-level win. Who else has Manel Cap beaten? I'm trying to think. I'll look at it in a second. But Brandon Royval, let's pull up his record here. I have it. Actually doing my research. Brandon Royval doesn't have that many high-level wins either. It's not 5+ wins. His last win, Tatsuro Taira, how did he beat him? In the striking. It was a split decision. I thought it was a relatively clear decision. I don't think it should have been split. But he beat him in the striking, no grappling. He was just defending grappling. And then Brandon Moreno, he won that one. Largely, I wouldn't say that Brandon Moreno is a better striker than Royval. I think that Moreno probably mixes it up even better. And if you look at the strike numbers, 145 for Royval compared to 112 for Moreno. So again, he's beating these guys in the striking. And I think in flyweight, you have to take into account they're all going to have relatively good grappling. You have to have good grappling, good scrambles to be a top 5 level fighter in this division. But Royval is doing it mainly on the feet. He does have quite a few submissions earlier on in his career. And then he has, wins over Mateus Nicolau, a decent win, especially at the time. This was already 2023, so 2 years ago. That was a KO win. He lost to Pantoja. He beat Matt Schnell. That was with a guillotine choke, but anyone could put away Matt Schnell, all right? Anyone could beat Matt Schnell in the striking. And there was only 26 strikes thrown in that fight. And then he has earlier wins in the UFC, a couple years back in 2020 against Kai France and Tim Elliott. So he just has, and those were by submission, but he's able to keep up with everyone, it seems like, in the striking. I was thinking about putting Kai France, but I just couldn't justify it with his resume. There's just no one that's super, super impressive that Kai France has beaten. I think Kai France's best win in the striking is Steve Erceg, which was his last fight. Before that, he lost to Amir Albazi, didn't really lose. And then he lost again to Brandon Moreno, lost to Brandon Royval, lost to Brandon Moreno again earlier. So it's every top level opponent he's facing, he can't get it done. So I can't say that Kai Kara-France is a better striker than Brandon Royval when Brandon Royval has beaten guys like Tatsuro Taira and Moreno on the feet mainly. So, and Mateus Nicolau, that's a decent win too. So my pick for this flyweight division is Brandon Royval right now. This is a really difficult one because I feel like they're all very similar level, but let's move on to bantamweight. It's still the one guy. It's still him, bro. It's another difficult one. I don't think there's a clear standout. I know Dylan would be screaming right now, well, it's obviously Sean O'Malley, but I think it's really close, but I do think it's still Sean O'Malley. Peter Yan is a great striker, and he has trips. He has takedowns. He's not the best at controlling people or looking for submissions, but he can mix it up well enough where I don't think it's the striking alone that is scary about Peter Yan. Like, sure, some of the best boxing in general, but if you look at the Sean O'Malley versus Peter Yan fight, and I know that styles make fights, but Peter Yan was the guy who had to go to the ground with Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley is never going to shoot a takedown, at least not against Merab, all right? And I don't see in the foreseeable future him shooting a takedown against Umar or even Peter Yan. So I think in this division still, Sean O'Malley by far has the best build for striking. He's the most creative striker. He has the best bag out of all these strikers. He has good boxing, good defense, great fighting on the back foot. What he did to Aljo was honestly probably his best win by far, because before that he only had one ranked win, or maybe two ranked wins, but not over anyone notable. And then he had that Cheeto Vera win for his first title defense, and then that Merab loss. And even in that Merab loss, it was a 3-2 decision for Merab, where O'Malley was beating him up on the feet in the fifth round. You know, the body kick, I think, is really what did it in that fifth round. So when I look at other people like Peter Yan and Umar, I guess is the other guy, there's no way that I can put Umar above Sean O'Malley quite yet. It's close, like it's not a mile of difference, but I think that Sean O'Malley just has done a little bit more in the division compared to Umar. Umar has that win over Sandhagen. He used takedowns, but he also beat him on the feet. So, you know, that's a solid win. But I think O'Malley would beat Sandhagen without even have to think about takedowns. I think Sandhagen would be the one shooting on him. And then who else is there? Umar he lost to Merab. That's his only other ranked win. Before that, it doesn't matter. Those guys are bums. Except Raoni Barcelos, who apparently can fraud check Peyton Talbot. But, you know, if you look at the the Merab fight between Umar, he was winning on the feet in the first and second round, and he also shot for takedowns. So he won those rounds with getting a takedown. And those were close rounds too. So were Sean O'Malley's, but I just think that Sean O'Malley did it only on the feet, whereas Umar did shoot a takedown as well. And he landed a couple takedowns of his own. So, and then for the last one, Peter Yan. Peter Yan is a really great boxer. And like I said, he mixes it up well. But if you look at his resume, he's lost twice to Aljo. And that's not a bad loss. Like, I'm not saying that that's embarrassing. I'm just saying that Sean O'Malley was able to get that done. He's lost to Sean O'Malley in pretty much a draw, a draw fight. They're very equal, it seems like. I think that as much as they're the same age, Peter Yan's been in the game for longer. He has more experience, but I'd say he has less of a growth curve to keep following. He's not going to keep exponentially getting better and better and better. I think Sean O'Malley has a little bit more left in the tank to keep getting better. I'm not saying that he's going to change his entire game or evolve completely, but I am saying that I think Sean O'Malley is going to get better in the next 3 years of his prime. Peter Yan feels like he's 35 already, but he's only 31, so I think they're the same age. Next up, I hope that justifies my pick. Sorry for this extreme stutter. Next pick, featherweight. This is another one where you might be saying, "Oh, it's Ilia Topuria." I'm not counting Topuria in this list because he's a lightweight now. He's expressed his move to lightweight. I think that it's more exciting if I grade this division without Topuria here, because Topuria is obviously the best striker, in my opinion, in the UFC right now. So who is it in featherweight? We have guys like Diego Lopez. We have guys like Volk, who's still super strong. I'm not going to count Max Holloway. You have a Gene Silva, who's a strong striker. You have a Josh Emmett, who's a good striker. Lerone Murphy, a decent kickboxer. It's still Volk, bro. he's still by far the most skilled. Like, and it's not close. Diego Lopez has great power and throws everything into his punches, great combinations, like 2 to 3 piece combinations, not crazy. But Volk is still that guy who can mix it up the best, throw lead leg kicks, game plan. He's just different. Like, he's been in the game for so long. He understands distance management. His game plans are always really strong. His kicks, his boxing, his defense. I think that he didn't really need to take Max Holloway down in that third fight. He could have just, and he did win on the feet just by himself. Like, that's incredible. So taking Topuria aside, the only guy to beat Max in featherweight for the last however many years, like 10 plus years, is Volkanovski. So I don't think it's that crazy to say Volkanovski, even though he has a sus chin, is still the best fighter and striker in that featherweight division. I think it's getting closer now just because of his age. His reflexes are getting slower. His chin is getting worse. All these factors are not in Volk's favor, but he was just prime Volk, man. And I didn't even mention Yair Rodriguez, but Yair's a great striker too. More on the wild side. Fundamentally, he's not like sound, but the creative striking is what gets him those flashy KOs and elbows and knees and like switch kicks. It's just, he's a very crazy striker, but we've seen what Volk did to him. Volk's the GOAT, man. I need to see him win at 314. And let me know who you think is the best striker in these divisions too, because it's not an easy matchup. I can see it's not an easy decision. I can see lots of other strikers being the winner. But in lightweight, this is where I'm going to count Ilia Topuria, and this is who I've chosen for this division. I think Ilia is the most sound technically as a boxer. He still has outside leg kicks that are super, 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 super deadly. Think what he did to Josh Emmett. Spun him around. Think what he did to Volk. Spun him around with the leg kicks. Think what he did to Max. Beat up that lead leg. And we know Max is susceptible to that. But it's just incredible what he's able to do with the boxing and one extra tool. That's all he needs. He has never thrown in his career a head kick or a body kick. That's the levels of boxing plus leg kick we're talking about. He's perfected a style that works for him, similar to what, a Volkanovski has done. His style of just beating guys down over time and breaking them with pace. And he's perfected this style that works for him so well. And I think it could beat pretty much anyone. He's so defensively sound with his hands always up by his side, bringing them back right after a punch. I think that head kick was unlucky for him, but also probably a good thing for his career to see that he's not invincible. He can get hit, so that's always going to be in his mind a little bit, and he'll keep his hand up because of that. So I think it's actually a good thing that Jai Herbert got a fluke head kick flash knockdown. There are some other good fighters in this division, obviously. Charles has great striking, like incredible striking, not just his jiu-jitsu. Justin Gaethje, I think we can safely say that he's not in this contention anymore. You got beat up by a featherweight who was not a great stylistic matchup, but you've also lost to pretty much everyone. Now, granted, they might have been submission artists, but, I think Topuria would piece this guy up and put him out cold within 2 rounds. I think, is that crazy to say? Especially with his chin now. Like, it didn't look bad against Rafael Fiziev, but it's not going to be the same. It's still good, but it's not going to be the same. So, I think Topuria clears Gaethje. I think he clears Charles, especially in a striking matchup. Dustin Poirier, it's close. It's really close. That's the matchup right there. Topuria versus Poirier for boxing and striking. Obviously, Poirier doesn't have much mobility in those hips anymore to do high kicks and body kicks, but it's still effective style-wise for boxing, and it would be the weight issue is what I'm worried about. Stylistically, I think Topuria is a better boxer than Poirier, especially with those leg kicks and the combinations, his pressure, his defense, his shoulder rolls. I just think Topuria has more clean boxing and gets hit a lot less compared to Poirier. And Holloway did hit Topuria, I think the most we've ever seen. You know, his nose gets quite red in a lot of his fights, which isn't a great look for the judges, but Poirier's been KO'd by Justin Gaethje in only 3 fights ago, I think, right? Makhachev, Benoit, and then Gaethje. So yeah, 3 fights ago, Gaethje head kicked him cold, and that is striking. You know, that was a striking matchup. So Poirier's just taken too many losses. It's hard to look at a guy with so many losses like Poirier has, even though they're against high-level opponents, and say, yeah, he's a better striker than Topuria, who's never lost a striking matchup in his career. Yeah, how can you do that? And then Makhachev is obviously a good candidate, but we all know my opinions on that. It's because of his takedown threat and his wrestling threat. He's a great fundamental striker, not much more, which is sometimes all you need. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but sometimes it's you just need to be fundamental to work it into your game plan. All right, welterweight. Leon, come on, man. Come on, son. It's not Leon Edwards. We can't be defending him anymore. It's JDM, in my opinion. As much as the bedtime JDM glaze needs to stop, I think JDM is just barely the best striker in this division. I went back and watched all his fights. I don't know why. I think I just randomly did it. But his combinations up against the fence, his pressure, when he can actually impose his will, I don't know if there's a better striker in the top half of the weight classes that's better than him. When he's able to impose his will, he's pretty much unstoppable. And I think that's a big theme, what we're seeing in the UFC right now. You know, that's why CLD beat Andrei Polyev in the fight at London, is because he was able to impose his will and Polyev just moves back. I'm really confident that if a lot of these fighters could put more forward pressure, it just looks better in the judges' eyes, so closer rounds probably go to them, even though it's not boxing where ring generalship doesn't actually have a technical effect on the score. The main criteria for scoring is damage-based. I still think that forward pressure for perception looks so much better than backing up and landing a leg kick like Pereira. You know, why did Pereira lose that close 3rd round, I believe it was? It's because he's backing up. He's not putting the pressure on. Yeah, he's landing some leg kicks, and visibly, Enk looks like he's doing more damage to Pereira. So it's just how the judges look at it. So I think forward pressure is really important, and if JDM can get that down, especially against a guy like Bilal Muhammad, he'll be really hard to beat for anyone else in the division. He doesn't have the best kicks. You know, his kicks aren't special, they're fine, but his boxing is really where it shines. The pocket boxing, even his range, his jab is really effective. His cardio is decent, and then if you look at the other people in the division, you know, Bilal's got hands like Canelo, but it's not quite the same level, in my opinion. Leon Edwards, there's no defending him anymore. He was a one-hit wonder against Usman, and Colby Covington didn't show up to that fight. So it's crazy to me to think, and I said this to Dylan, but it's crazy to think that Colby Covington could have been the welterweight champion. And I don't think it's unrealistic. If Colby Covington would have shown up to that fight and fought like he usually fights in the fights before that, he would have won that fight. Leon is so bad. Why was anyone glazing this guy? I've been a Leon hater from the beginning of this channel, but then it kind of subsided, and I was like, no, we're being too harsh on him. We weren't being harsh enough. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry if you're a UK fan and Tom Aspinall's getting his prime wasted and Leon Edwards getting wasted by every wrestler in the division, and Lerone Murphy's a terrible prospect. UK fans have it rough right now. But anyways, there's other people. There's Shavkat. Nah. Not after what I saw against Ian Gary. It wasn't dominant enough. Like, he landed the bigger shots on the outside against Ian Gary, who I think is a good striker, definitely underrated, but he didn't do enough in my eyes to really cement himself as, oh, that's an impressive boxer. And you might be saying in the comments, oh, well, JDM was losing against Gilbert Burns and had to get a knee knockout. Bro, he did. He did, though. That's the difference. JDM did that. Shavkat isn't doing that. He didn't do that against Wonderboy, he submitted Wonderboy, which is the easier path to win. I'm not saying that was a bad decision, but if you look at how he won that fight, it was on the ground. If you look at how he won that Ian Gary fight, it was smushing him against the fence. You know, people love to hate on Mario Batista, but then when Shavkat does it, it's a different story. It's the same thing, guys. And I'm saying this because Dylan isn't here. Dylan would be jumping in, and he'll probably watch this video and comment. But yeah, if you're still watching this video, comment, "We miss you, Pink Boy," for Dylan. We miss you, Dylan. All right, moving on to middleweight. This is where I got another controversial take. I was making this video last night, and I started off controversial, and then I got kind of mid, and now we're back to being controversial. It's Dricus du Plessis. It is. It just is. I'm not hearing the Sean Strickland talk. Dricus didn't land a single takedown, or maybe he landed one, but it wouldn't have changed the rounds in that second Sean Strickland fight. So he beat him up purely on the feet, game plan for him, K1 kickboxing champion. Let's not forget that. Dricus, the GOAT of kickboxing. I'd love to watch some of his kickboxing fights. That style is so weird. I can't imagine it being in a kickboxing ring. You compare Izzy to Dricus, and they're both kickboxing champions. I think surely Izzy was a kickboxing champion at some point in his career. And there's polar opposites, but somehow it still works for both of them. Imavov, I debated putting Imavov here, but if you look at his best win, it's probably Buckley and Izzy, right? Is that correct? And Cannonier. It's probably those three big wins. Cannonier, old. Izzy, washed. Buckley, tiny. So I think Dricus just has a bit of a better resume. And it was close on the feet with Adesanya, so maybe I am underrating Imavov, and I think Imavov I'm always going to underrate because he just doesn't have that name value about him. But I think if we're talking just pure striking, you can't say it's a guy like Izzy anymore. As much as Izzy is technically incredible, his defense is lacking when he moves his head back. He does the Anderson Silva, but when you get to 36 years old, it doesn't work anymore. Moving the head side to side, moving it back. It's mainly the moving it back part where he'll get caught. And especially if you're a boxer with good straight punches like Sean Strickland and Imavov was, it's going to provide a lot of issues for you. And I also think Dricus is still, like I talked about Sean O'Malley, he's on that curve where he's growing so much. And I think Imavov is also on that curve because Imavov's only 28 or 29 or something. Maybe he's 30, but Dricus is 31. So they're all young guys in middle. I gotta stop saying that sentence. They're all young guys in middleweight, and I love that. I really love that because they have so much time to improve and really build this division up to be something special. Whitaker is another good striker, but let's be honest, he's lost to everyone by now. Kyle Barallo hasn't proved anything yet, and that's about it. Bo Nickel's close, but not quite. Ankalaev versus Pereira. That did a lot of things to a lot of UFC fans. Probably lost a lot of UFC fans too, unfortunately. And I actually saw someone bringing it up today, and I almost cried right before filming this video. So that's why my energies are really, really low right now. But Ankalaev versus Pereira made me realize that I know nothing, and it sucks. Because I thought Pereira was by far the best striker. And I guess at that point, it's not crazy to say that he was because he's KOing everybody. But Roundtree gave him a really tough test. And that was at altitude, and he had sickness. So, call it what you want. But he still gave him a really tough fight, got a flash knockdown, won 2 rounds, and then got KO'd. Ankalaev, who didn't really have to take Pereira down. He didn't actually land any takedowns, but he did control him up against the fence for a round, so he would have taken a round off him like that. But other than that, I think Ankalaev just won on the feet. He just won with forward pressure, which is striking. I would count forward pressure as part of striking because they're on the feet, so call me crazy. I know it's controversial, and I know a lot of people aren't going to want to hear this, but Ankalaev beat him for 2 rounds on the feet and then 1 round up against the cage. So, but on the cage is also on the feet. So I think in an MMA striking match, you have to count that as more on the feet than on the ground. It's weird. Clinch work is right in between. But I think I'm going to give it to Ankalaev. Oh, this is tough. I just think that Ankalaev did prove himself that he is an elite striker in that division. He has KOs over some good competition, not the same level as Pereira. Oh, maybe I'm convincing myself to go Pereira. No, it's Pereira. It's still Pereira. It is. It is. Okay, I'm changing. I had Ankalaev written down here, but I can't go back on what I've always been talking about, how the takedown threat completely destroys some strikers. And I think it completely destroyed Alex Pereira as a striker in that fight at UFC 313. I think if you put them in a match and it's only striking, I think Ankalaev still gives him a lot of problems, and I still think it's a very, 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 very close fight. But I think with the left hook and the power, the equalizer that he has, you can't beat that unless you fight perfectly for 5 rounds. And Izzy was doing that until he got caught. That's why he said he had to fight a perfect fight to win against Pereira for 5 rounds. And at the last second, he slipped up and he got KO'd. I think Ankalaev would have a similar predicament. He'd have to fight perfect for 25 minutes, not get caught. And this is a striking only matchup. We're not talking about him smudging him up against the fence. It's still Pereira. All right. I'll stay strong to my boy. And last weight class, I feel like this has been a pretty long video for a solo video. Shout out me carrying this YouTube channel for real. All right, enough glaze. It's John Jones. No, it's not John Jones. It's Shamil Gaziev and Tai Tuivasa tied for first, and Waldo Cortez Acosta in a close second, and then Slick McParkin. Oh, can we talk about Slick McParkin? Yeah, what are we saying? What's his future like? Is he ever gonna make it up the rankings? I still got faith. I still got faith in him. Tibur was a close fight. I thought they were giving it to McParkin because, why not? Why? The UFC's done a lot of weird things. Why not just give this decision to McParkin? But didn't work out. My real pick is Tom Aspinall. It's obvious. It's simple. Has a massive speed advantage over everyone in the division. His defense is his weakest point, but even saying that, it's not awful. For a heavyweight, come on guys, we got to compare him to his division, and for a heavyweight, it's still good. It's still good defense. His head movement is extremely good. That Volkov where he just slips under the punch on the ground, come on, you're going to see Shamil Gaziev do that? No, of course not. You're going to see Alexander Volkov do that? No. Pavlovich? No, Pavlovich, yeah. It's so clear. I think this is probably the biggest discrepancy between any division. Jones, in terms of creativity and IQ, I would say is higher than Aspinall, but Aspinall just has that speed. He's a natural heavyweight for the division. His power, when has Jones KO'd someone out cold like that? Stipe was a body shot, but when has John Jones in the first round come out there and put the pressure and beat the brakes off of his opponent, who is an equal size, equal age, equal weight? When was the last time he did that? Tell me in the comments, because I genuinely want to know. When was the last time John Jones went out there and just absolutely crumbled the guy with striking in the first round? It can't be John Jones. It has to be Tom Aspinall. And I really want that fight to happen. I feel so bad for Tom because he's wasting his prime here. For a heavyweight, like, it could be over at any second. You could get KO'd and your chin is never the same. Heavyweight's such a strange division. So I think Tom is the best boxer. He has good leg kicks, good takedown defense, which allows him to have confidence in his striking. And he's just powerful. What he did to Tibura, what he's done to, Pavlovich, what he's done to Blades, what he does to everybody. Crazy that Andrei Arlovsky was his closest fight. Like, that's wild to me. And that was a while back, but it's still weird to think about Arlovsky, who also just had a fight, and didn't he win by like a crazy finish? Yeah, shout out Andrei Arlovsky, still getting it done for the Youngs. But that's going to do it for this video. I miss my boy. It's not the same without him. I don't even know how to do the outro, so I guess I'll just see you guys later. Peace.